Today is Tuesday, January 25th, 2019. You are listening to an interview of Delia Rodriguez as part of an oral history project for the Houston Metropolitan Research Center. So, what are we looking at here? What are these things?
These are 45s, records, for those who have no idea what they are. So, there you go.
Why are they called 45s?
That's a good question. I guess the size, right? I have no idea. I guess the size, because there we have the 33s and then 78s as well. They were used to play back in the day. I think 78s were probably one of the originals, I think.
Does it have to do also maybe with the times that it spins? Isn't it the number of times that it spins also?
I have no idea.
Like it takes 45 seconds or something?
Does it?
I don't know.
I have no idea. I just know they play music.
How is it that you were able to get your hands on so many of these? I mean, you personally own these, or who do they belong to?
Yes, these are mine. Some of them I'm gonna have to rap myself out. I kind of, when I was a teenager, I would listen to them. A couple of them, not these, used to belong to my mom. And then some of them over the years I've collected, just because I still like vinyl, and so when I started doing this project, I started getting a lot more of my dad's friends' music. I was like, that would be so awesome to have a copy of some of the music they created, and just have it all together. So if I ever wanted to think about my dad in that time frame, and I could just sit down and put some music on and think, man, what were times like back then? So
how much would they have cost? Back in what period in time is this?
Some of these are 50s, 60s, 70s.
What would they have costed back then?
I think I've heard someone talking about like 99 cents and 25 cents. It kind of just depends. When they were hit records across, and that made them go up a little bit. But I don't remember ever paying too much for the 45s back then.
How much would they cost now?
Ooh, it depends on who it is. Some of these now go for, I don't know, 25, 30. I think this one even had the price on here on the record. This one was $50. Some of Neto Perez's stuff, even his 45s go for 65. Rocky Gill, I went to a record shop a few days ago in San Antonio, and Rocky Gill, they were going for $65 for a 45. So it depends on who it is, and I guess the label, if it's a Houston group or if they're out of San Antonio, California.
Yeah. Do you have any of these of Houston groups?
Yes. So Gino was a local label, and Jesse and the Crystals, that was one of my dad's friends. So he's native Houstonian. This one here, Neto Perez, that's my dad's friend. Another name that people will know right away is Shorty Martinez. My dad used to play with him. But that particular album is crazy. Well, that 45, because my uncle gave me some records, and he said, here, man, you can have them all. And I was like, great. So I sat down and I started going through them, looking for specific labels, and then I grabbed it and put it back in because I didn't recognize it. I said, wait a minute, no, that can't be it. So I went back in and grabbed it, and I was like, oh no, you gotta be kidding me. Shorty Martinez? I was just like, there's no way possible. I was so excited because this is my dad's, he played music with him, but he also roommate with his two sons when they were like 13 and 14 years old. So I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna blow them out of the water when they find out that I've got one of their dad's 45. So I was super excited. I took a picture, posted it right away. And then we've got Ruben Torres, which is also one of my dad's friends. I found that one online. Justin was another local label. I had met Ruben, and we had got to talking and visiting, and we talked on Facebook and things like that. And so when I showed him that I found his record, he was like, wow, where'd you find that? A lot of these guys, they don't even have their own music anymore. They don't have the original music. They don't have the 45s. And I'm like, how do you not have the 45s? And they're like, over time you move, family, so stuff happens. So these for me they're golden because they're very hard to find. We got the Sunglows. I think everybody knows the Sunglows.
This is also a local company.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How many recording companies did Houston have that was producing this kind of music?
I don't know. The only two that I knew of was that I knew about was Capoca under Gaston Ponce, and the one that Nacho Garza, he produced and recorded. But I'm sure there are a lot more, just that I don't know them specifically. But I know Gaston, he had, I later found out that he had like 15 different labels underneath his name. So I thought that was pretty cool. I wonder if on back of these, oh, this is the one that everybody knows, the Cacahuate song. And then I was lucky enough to find the 33. So I got the 33 and the 45 of that one. This one here, no, it's a little bit further down that way. I used to play this one over and over and over again. Hey, little girl. I don't know why, I just liked it. I grew up listening to it when I was like 13, 14 years old. And I played that heck out of that record. This particular one here, that's my dad. His friend Danny wrote it, and my dad and his orchestra, they played it. So I was telling you about Shorty Martinez a second ago. Well, this is his son, Boo Boo Martinez. And that was one of his first recordings. And I think I shocked him when I showed up with that 45. He's like, I can't believe you have that. I said, I can't believe I have it.
How many albums did your dad record?
So initially, most of my life, I grew up knowing about 2 records, 2 actual 45s, and then on a 33 that he did with Neto. But then I found out later on, well, about 2 years ago when I was started doing this research, my half-brother said, no, there's actually more. And I'm like, no way. And he sent me a picture. There was like 4 other ones that my dad either did the music for, or he did the lyrics and actually performed on. So I think there's probably a total of 6 or 8 now, which is kind of cool. I was like, oh, gremlins, they grow.
Do you have all of them?
No, he has them. He says they're mine when he goes. I don't wish that, but I would like to get my hands on them.
Are those the only ones that that could be found somewhere? You haven't done a search?
It's a needle in the haystack. I haven't done an online search for those just yet, but hopefully, I'll get them back, and I'll be able to search for them. So see if we can get some more copies of them. They're out there. They exist.
Is any of this music digitized? I mean, can we find this?
Some of it is, yes. Some people, who are other collectors, they get them, and then they change them over to MP3s or MP4s, and then sometimes you'll get lucky enough to find them on YouTube, which is hopefully what I want to do. I'll be able to do that. Maybe this year I'll get a chance to sit down and get some good recordings enough so that you can hear it, the quality will be good, and get them on YouTube.
Where do you keep these? I mean, these are your personal copies. Where do you store them?
In these 2 little pretty cases. Actually, both of these cases, well, this case my friend Isaac gave me. He's like, look, I'm going to start you out. And it's just a vanity case, an old vanity case, but they're perfect. And then this one I found online, and I was so excited. I was telling my friend Isaac I was going to go pick it up and everything. He's like, you know what? That's a friend of mine. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So this case has been all over Mexico, what I'm told. And then I was like, you know what? I got to make it extra special. So I got our Tejas Gatzel as a tribute to my friend Isaac.
But what's the case used for? Is it a musician's case?
Let's open this one up. This is kind of cool, though. I love the way this one opens up. And it comes apart. So, and it has this foam inside, so it's a protector, and it has a divider. But it completely comes apart.
Some musicians would carry
yeah.
microphones and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
You use it now to store your 45s.
My 45s, yeah.
About how many 45s do you think you have?
Oh, I probably have maybe 300, I think, right now. But that's inclusive to English. That's going to be like Some English like from the 70s, maybe some 80s, and then also from English oldies, Spanish, everything all together. And that doesn't include my 33s.
What do you play these on? Are they still playable? Can you still play them?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I have a small portable record player, and then I have one at home that my uncle gave me. That's a little bit better quality than the portable one that I have. So, yeah.
Well, let's hear some of it.
All right, let's do it.
So what is this thing called?
This is a record player, or depending, I guess, if you want to say records or vinyl. Let's see, it's on 45. So here we have the different sizes. There's the 78, 45, and the 33. So.
Oh, okay. So you set it to the size of the record,
Yes.
because otherwise it won't play properly.
Yeah, it'll, if you have it on the, if it's a fast song, if it's a 45 and you have it on a slower, on the 33, the speed will be slower, so it won't play properly. Hopefully this one's not scratched.
So how much does something like this cost? An apparatus like this? Would they have had portable players in the 50s and 60s, or is this a newer kind of?
No, this is a newer style. Back then they had the big old stand-up console that were huge. This one, you can find them about $98 if you're lucky. 50. Sometimes you can get them on sale. Find them on offer. It's about $25, $35. It depends. You know, this one she said they never even used it, and it was still in the box, so I gotta get a good deal on it.
Where did you get it from? You got it from like a vintage place, or?
No, I got it from an individual. She was selling it because she'd never used it, and so well, then let me take it off her hands.
That was awesome.
A little fast. So, a couple things. So my dad used to write his own sheet music, and he also used to write it out so that he would practice it. And so these were a couple of the books that he had. My sister got the original stuff, but I went and made copies. It showed his name, position, and what he played. And so this, I love this because it's all stuff that he hand wrote, you know, with all his little notes on them. And then look at this. I thought this was cool. With feeling.
And what's it called? I mean, is there a specific term that's used when musicians write music? What do they say?
Well, I mean, he composed the sheet music, and even this paper. I don't think they have it like this anymore. So Fly Me to the Moon.
So he would physically write on a paper that has lines.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And this is language that says, this is how I want to play this specific note.
Yeah, because every note was going to tell you how fast the beat should be, or how long they should hold the note for how many counts, and I mean, I know basics, but I don't know everything and out of it all. And then one of the things that I like, I mean, this was his personal notebook. This is one of the places that we used to live at, Alvera Street. And so, I mean, I literally copied everything. So songs he was working on or wanted to learn, what key they were in, wrote out the words, the lyrics, so he could learn them. And English, Spanish.
And your dad would do both, English and Spanish?
Yeah, he sang both. There's that. And then for the military, Special Forces training, his certificates at Fort Bragg, his GED from high school. He got one, I guess, while he was in the military. postal training.
And your father served in Vietnam?
Yes. Yeah. More postal training. Yes, he was a Vietnam vet. He was a Special Forces Green Beret and paratrooper. I don't ever get tired of saying that. My mom gave me this a couple of years ago. Something my dad wrote to me. There's just something special about it all being handwritten versus how people, them typing it all out. It's just nostalgic. And then this is the one that I think we talked about last time. I didn't know this existed. One of my daughter's friends helped us find it. And there's this collection online of music that you can go in and type in a song or the artist. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me, because I was like, that's my dad's name, and it can be found online. And it'll play you just a couple of minutes of or I guess a preview of the song. And then when he passed away, my mom had cutouts of the accident and everything, and when he passed. I don't think I got details about the accident until, I don't know, I guess I was in my late 20s, maybe early 30s. And then when I got it, I was like, really, I could have gone the whole rest of my life without knowing. But it is what it is.
All right. What's happening in this photo here? Who's this person?
So this is my dad. I actually just came into these pictures a little bit over a year ago. My dad was in Marshall Junior High. I thought they were kind of cool. You can tell, oh, that's a copy. Oh, what's this one? Oh, extra pictures. Never enough pictures though.
Marshall Junior High is where?
Northside.
Uh-huh.
Northside. A lot of them. It's funny because over this last year and a half, I found out a lot of the musicians have come either from Marshall or Jeff Davis High School.
And so he was in the band in Marshall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mom said he was about 14 when he started. Actually, I think last time I had talked to you, I mentioned that he started playing the saxophone. I have a picture where he was like 16, but Mom said that he actually started playing when he was like 14.
Oh.
And this one, when my dad died, my mom gave me some of his cufflinks, and I've just always kept them. And I found this blouse that allowed me to put cufflinks, and I thought, you know what, I gotta have that shirt because I wanted to be able to wear my dad's cufflinks. And then when we had a special tribute show on the radio station that I told you that I was on, I just wore them just to have them closer to me that day for the vinyl tribute show that we did. And then I have here one of the early band pictures with Neto. And those special suits that we were talking about.
And those suits, remind me, those come from?
So, from Duke's.
Oh.
He said that they used to do the whole thing. I mean, you could literally just show up with socks and underwear and they could fit, suit you up. And he says, and the whole thing would be $14.99. I was like, $14.99? No, you can't even have dinner for $14.99, much less get a suit. So, and then he was like, there was a specific style. There was one he talked about, it was called a Nehru, and he said that that one was like a kind of like a Beatle style. It was all the way up and all the way down buttons, and they used to change out the collars all the time. And he said that those used to run between $50 and $95 for the jackets.
Who said those things?
So all this talk about the musicians and their outfits, you can't go without having a conversation about Dukes and Dukes of Hollywood. Well, it was actually what did they call it before? Hollywood Tailors. and then they changed it to Dukes of Hollywood. And so I went and had a conversation with Mike, which is the son of Mr. Duke, and him and I were talking about some of these suits and the outfits and that they used to wear, and how, because everything was tailor-made, nothing was off the rack when it came out of Duke's, and he's still there today. What's this one? Oh, just a different style suit. So I was talking to my mom and my dad's friend Alice and Frank Moreno, and they were saying that if they didn't get him from Duke's, they would get him from Alice Formal Wear. So those were the two places they would interchange from, and Alice Formal Wear is just a little bit cheaper. So, musician's budget, right? And then we have this one here, which I didn't know that these even existed until last year. Is it better flat? So some of these guys are still alive.
So they all look very young in this photo. What year is this?
Let me see. Okay, this one I don't have any information on, but I think I'm trying to remember what time we said. My dad wasn't even 20 years old there.
What is 3621 Easy?
So that's the way they did the phone numbers. The phone number's back here, but that's the address. But this was the phone numbers, the way they did it.
What's that location? 321 Easy. Is that where they?
It might have been Neto's house, like their address. You know, and it's funny, I was talking to Alice yesterday about these very things, because I remember seeing those firsthand as a kid, those orchestra signs. And the person who made those was Neto's dad.
Oh.
He made all of those. And then, let me see what's on the flip side. That's an earlier, or more recent, rather, compared to the other one. Just a little bit closer. Like, I had no idea these pictures even existed, because I only had this last one here with their more newer suits, because you can tell the era change between them. But I had really only known about this one. All these other ones came out over the last year from my half brother. He gave them to me, and then I found out, I met with Freddie Porras and his wife. And so that's Freddie. I met him and his wife a few months ago, and she told me she, in fact, gave these to my half sister. And so it's like, do you have any of those pictures? She could, you know, I would like to have some of my own, because she gave them all away. She said, I didn't even think about it, and I just ended up giving them all to her. And I told her, yeah, I'll definitely have to get you some copies so that she has some copies too. And I just thought these styles were so cool. I'm like, who would think to take the kind of pictures like that?
Yeah, they're jamming, right?
Yeah.
But these are, you know, this would have been, these are staged, kinds of, right? So who are the photo companies that they're booking for this?
My mother said a name yesterday. I might have to get back with you on that one, because I don't remember who. There was a couple of photo studios that they went to all the time, or a couple of people that, you know, did this kind of thing, but I don't remember off the top of my head who they are.
The Stardust Ballroom. Tell me about that.
The ballroom is epic. I mean, when you say the Stardust Ballroom, everybody knows what that place is and who played there, and that was just like the go-to. And that album, I mean, when anyone sees that album, they just start talking. I mean, they like start foaming at their mouth about all the stories and all the memories from them. And they talk about. I've talked to a couple of the guys who talk about the floor that was put together in the ballroom, who some of the original players were, like Little Joe used to play there. Esparza used to MC there. I mean, anybody who was anybody played there. I mean, that's some of their stomping grounds, starting grounds. Yeah, that was just one of the go-to places. Let's see what's on the back side. Oh, it's just a smaller version of the album cover.
How long was this orchestra together for? Or how long was your dad a part of this orchestra?
You know what? I didn't find out that question. I know that Neto and my dad were friends from middle school. And based on the pictures, I mean, they're men. This is the late 70s, early 70s? No, early 70s. So
it seems like I count 3 saxophone players and then 3 trumpet players. Isn't that too much, or is that what's typical of the orchestra sound?
yes, definitely. That was something that Micaela and I had talked about, was the different types of sounds and the genres within a genre, I guess. You know, yes, Tejano music, but what style? Was it like conjunto, ranchera? But Neto was orchestra style, which is evident on the stands, and then how many instruments and how many horns were in the section, how many guitar players and all that was in the band. And then my dad played the alto sax and the tenor sax, I think. And then Neto played, he played the stand-up bass, the saxophone, and I think there was one more instrument, but I can't remember off the top of my head. And then over time, because I've been doing this research for a little bit, I've been coming to meet a lot of my dad's friends. And so this is Ruben Torres and su conjunto, which that's one of the 45s that I showed you that I was lucky enough to get my hands on. And he actually won an award, or placed it, you know how like they have the billboards, and so he placed, I think, first place in the conjunto music. And then this is Jesse from Jesse and the Crystals, and I think the Stardusters, I think. And we have some later pictures of him, and I was lucky enough to get my hands on one of his records as well. I got Sunny and the Sunliners. I was going to try to bring one of those, but those are a little bit harder to carry because I don't have a case for the 33s. I'm working on that one. And then this is Nacho Garza and his band, his conjunto. So it was him and his 2 of his brothers, but he was also a producer. He had a studio on North Side on Patton for many, many, many years. When I met with him, he told me that Rigo Tovar actually recorded with him, and that was the first, recordings that Rigo was with him in his studio. I still don't know who this is. I have yet to find out. But that's one of the early pictures from La Terraza. Everybody talks about that club as well, 1968.
Who's in this photograph?
So that's my dad at the very end, my Aunt Vera, my Uncle Alex, and I think it's friends on the right side. And this is my mom and dad. Let me take these out. I really love these pictures. This picture here is actually in Moody Park. All right, you know what? I think that one's over there off of, was it Allen Parkway? That looks like the thing in the Allen Parkway, Moody Park. I'm not sure. Maybe it's Moody Park. But they always used to get together, all the bands, and they would have picnics out there. And of course, with the musicians, you didn't go without music, and so they would take their instruments out there and they would perform. I have pictures of some of them when they were performing. My dad was a big hat person. I don't know if that's where I got it from, but I carry it on anyway.
These are your parents.
Yeah.
What's your mother's name?
Linda, well, she's since remarried when my dad passed away years later. She was lucky enough to find someone, so she remarried, and she's Cortez now.
Did she have any musical talent? Did she play an instrument or sing?
No. We asked her, in fact, please not to sing. She likes to, but I think that it's just for the family.
And so this is you, your sister, and your parents.
Yes. My sister was 2 when my dad passed. I was 7, and that was in Clute. We had a house in Clute, and that's where my dad was the postmaster.
So that was his other job, on top of being a musician.
Yeah.
Did musicians normally have to have multiple gigs like that, multiple jobs?
Yeah. So the last time we were talking about, you had asked me how much did they make at a gig, and so when I asked Frank, I said, okay, so what kind of money did y'all make back then? And he was telling me that sometimes $20 a gig, if they were lucky, maybe 40. He says if it was a special event, so, like Christmas anniversary or something, they might make 100, but not much. It's more for the music, right? And then this is Boo Boo. This is one of my dad's friends. They've known each other since they were like 13 and 14 years old. And that one was literally the size of a school picture. I mean, like, what size are those? 3 by 5 maybe? And I had that one blown up. It came out pretty good, actually, I think. I wasn't sure what it was going to look like, that blown up that big. Just a different version. And he's still playing today. I actually went to go see him last week, playing in San Antonio.
So he plays concerts?
Yeah, he still performs.
And his music style is what? Has it evolved? Has it changed?
He plays a little bit of everything. Because he used to tour all over the U.S. and he played with, I guess, like the Glass and the Pips. But he also, like when I went to go see them in San Antonio, it was like some guys from Jay Perez, from Ram Herrera, and one of the guys, the lead singer, is Ray Ray, and he was playing with them, so it's a mixture of them. I'm gonna take that one.
Yeah, this is the jamming one. This is the original.
Yeah. Let's see if there's anything on the back. There is. You can barely see it. I would love to have that. I need to see if I can copy it and see if I can get a clear writing of what it is. But it looks like it says Neto Perez there. The writing on the back of the pictures have never been more important than since I started this research. Before, people would write who was there, what year.
Yeah.
But things like this now, and it's like, okay, who was holding the picture? See, this says from Neto Perez and Pan American Nightclub 1964. Way before I was born.
And this is the wedding album of your parents.
This is my mom and dad.
Where'd they get married at?
Holy Name.
This is the church here in town?
Mm-hmm, on North Side.
It's a traditional Catholic wedding?
Yes. It's very traditional.
Did your father ever play for the church? Did this church have a band or?
I don't think they did something like that back then. I know that it's becoming more popular for a lot of the churches, and I know that some of my dad's friends do play with their churches now. But I don't think back then. These are some of my favorites from the album. It has all of them there in the picture.
And these other persons standing there, is that, I mean, is it family members? Is it band members?
Band members and family. So this was one of my mom's best friends since like they were 13 years old, I think. This was my uncle's sister, my Aunt Mary's husband's sister, and then this is Neto. And my Uncle Alex and my Aunt Vera, Frank Moreno, Alice, and I don't know who these two people are. I'm not sure who this is, but this was Neto Perez's first wife. Oh, my grandpa Fidel.
And so what do you intend to do with this collection that you have amassed? I mean, you got endless photographs, you got binders of pictures and things like that. You have all these 45s, and what's going to happen with these? You are starting your own sort of mini museum here.
I know, that's kind of awesome.
Do you have the capacity to preserve them and keep them?
No, I don't know what's the best way to preserve them, because now that, I've done some of this research, I'm always worried about, a record breaking, or, the pictures getting messed up, and, who can I trust to hold on to them and take care of them and treasure them the way I do. People get busy with their own lives and in the day-to-day things that they use, but some of this stuff kind of gets lost in the garage, and, people have to go back and dig through it to see, what do they still have. I know I talked to a lot of the musicians, and they lost a lot of pictures and things in the floods and hurricanes and moving from one place to another. So I haven't quite figured that out yet. I know you and I talked about some options like the public library and how they're able to archive and, save these kinds of things. So there are definitely some things I want to, figure out. I would love to be able to create maybe a web page so that this can be all, in one location, the music as well as the pictures. I want people to be able to have access to it, because it's not just my history. I mean, there's so many people in the pictures that this is their family's history as well. When we talk about the 45s and even the 33s, there's so many band members that are recording on there, and so I would like to make sure that, like my dad's friend Gilbert Degollado and his wife and his daughter, and her and I are just about the same age. So I want her to be able to have access to the pictures and the music as well, and so I want to be able to maybe at some point, like we talked about, was maybe get some of these some of their music recordings on YouTube, so it'll be out there for others. That's how I've been able to find some of them myself, is on YouTube. So yeah, I guess we'll figure it out little by little as we go.
Well, I appreciate you again taking the time to share this with us, and I think you're doing a fantastic job of fighting this history and trying to make this history available. And I think that you'll do the right thing moving forward and trying to preserve this history. So thank you. How about you close us out with maybe another musical selection here from. How does one dance to this? It's a partner dance, right? You dance with a partner.
Yeah, definitely. I can imagine they were 13, 14 years old and putting this stuff out.
That's awesome.
Okay, so this is Bubu Martinez, but Jose Martinez said he was his first drum solo at that age.
You have been listening to an interview of Delia Rodriguez on Tuesday, June 25th, 2019, Houston, Texas.